Welcome back to the Push Podcast, where we talk about pushing through adversity in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm your host, Lost Judah, and today we have a very, very special guest whose story embodies transformation, purpose, and generational wealth, built through healing and awareness. He is a natural-born musician, performer, and visual artist. He performed worldwide with some of the most iconic artists and productions. But his journey goes much, much deeper than the stage. His name is Johnny B Burgess Jr., also known as Oba Bola Tundé. Johnny's life is a living testament that adversity doesn't break you, it builds you. His wisdom of self-discovery, purpose, and spiritual devotion is inspiring, not just for those chasing dreams, but for anyone seeking a better human experience. Johnny, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me, brother. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. We happy to have you here, man. Real talk.
Yes, sir.
So, let's start at the beginning, man. So, you shared that one of the most pivotal challenges in your life was losing your father at 9 years old. How did that moment shape the man you are today?
Well, I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi,
Right.
in the South.
Right.
Very in a extremely constricted and crime-oriented location. I was in the middle of 4 gangs. They were all beefing. My father was, quote unquote, what you would call like one of those handle guys that, he could do a lot of things, very smart. He didn't have a lot of good upbringing and love and stuff like that from home. So he chose the streets. He chose doing a lot of those things. So it brought a lot of like stress and crime and, drama to our home with my mom and stuff like that. And, I had a dream. It was crazy because I had a dream like 3 days before we found out.
Right.
And I had a dream that something had happened to him. I woke up, was crying and ran to my mom. I was like, something's not right. I could feel something's not right. Something happened, to my dad. And then, of course, I'm little. No one's really believing, the small kid.
Right.
But it was crazy, but it was confirmed. I think when we didn't hear from him for like another 2 days, we went out looking for him, and then where he was living at, he was a guy that could do everything. Like, he was an electrician. He could like generate power and stuff like that.
Okay.
And we found him. We actually found him in his the little spot that he was living in. Some of his friends had sold him out. And we found him, dead, in that building. And I knew he was in there, and they were, a lot of the men were trying to say that, they were trying to redirect us, so we kind of get confused. But I knew he was in there, and I followed my intuition, my gut. I followed the guy inside of the home that he was living in. Everything was trash. It looked like they were looking for some stuff. And yeah, I found them. We found him on the floor. He was murdered, stabbed 7 times, and it's just kind of like that shift, that awareness right away. Right. I changed. Right. Like, it was not even it was like trauma. Immediately I changed. Like, everything changed from there. My perception on life changed. I don't even think I was a kid no more. I started thinking differently. Okay, I'm like, how am I going to protect, and how am I going to provide for my mom and my sister? And I have a younger sister. She's 3 years younger than me. So at that time, yeah, everything shifted, man. That shifted my entire life. And from there, it like built this strong determination to become something greater than my experience, my adversity,
your situation.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's powerful, man. Most people would fold under that kind of loss, but you pushed forward. You took that and you turned it into, the determination, like a positive situation for yourself. I want to ask you, what kept you going when life tried to break you down?
Oh, man. That's the story of my life, bro. Like, even going back to school after that happened, there wasn't a time back then that we have like now. Like, now we have like therapy.
Right.
We got all of this, like, these opportunities. I didn't have that. There was no therapy. There was no emotional support for someone that young to go through something so traumatic.
Right.
I probably just got like 2 weeks off of school. That didn't help because when I got back to school, because I was in such a constricted hood, like of crime, all of the kids, they were just children, innocent, but at the same time, they were lacking compassion of my situation. Some of them, was like, oh, okay, that's the guy, his dad got murdered, but it was so common in the hood for stuff like that to happen.
So they was kind of like numb to it.
Yeah, they were numb. They used to make fun of me. Like I got picked on and bullied, and just even because of that, I used to say all types of stuff like, oh, your dad deserved it. Or, things that are just really just make it worse, like hurt you. So,
right.
That type of like trauma, like sort of like suppressed something inside of me because it brought out like a really strong resentment and anger towards like just the world. Like I'm like, well, why does this have to happen to me? So I became a victim immediately to it. And man, that's when I started fighting, man. I mean, like I went back to school. I was super peaceful. When I went back to school, I was like a raging warrior. Like I would just fight people, like they'll say something and I pop off. Like that's what I started to, had become known for. And for me, I just feel like I was protecting, my dignity in some kind of way. But yeah, man, it was difficult coming back to school and coming back just to life, normal situations, because I couldn't focus. I couldn't concentrate after that. And the only thing that really kept me focused and going was my pursuit to artistic endeavors. Like I was an artist, a visual artist, and the only thing I did was draw. And there was one thing that my dad taught me is how to draw and how to build something with my mind and put it on paper.
Ooh.
And I was obsessed with it. Right. So like while the teacher was talking, I was drawing. And I didn't realize until now that I was drawing out my future. I was drawing myself of who I am today. I was drawing that back then.
Man, I love that, man. I love that. And you mentioned your biggest source of strength is your faith and devotion to spiritual development.
Yes.
Your connection to God.
Yes. My man.
Tell us more about, how that's guided you.
Well, my mom was a extremely spiritual warrior, I would say.
Okay.
Even though she practiced Christianity, of course, like most of our families, which I appreciated the training of her spiritual,
like the prep, to get you ready
everything,
for what's coming.
Man. Right, oh man, she kept me out of trouble because it was only so many things you could do from in that hood, So my mom was a choir director, musician, so we stayed in church like every day,
right,
all the time. So I remember like the prayers, the invocations, like the ability to see the silver lining of things. Like, and my mom was struggling, like losing her husband, of course, with 2 children. And not having support from family that much, right. And she was so spiritually devoted. A lot of the time she would make decisions based on what God told her to do, which went against what everybody else felt that she should do.
Like spiritually connected, spiritually led. Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So she would do the opposite, and then people would cut her off because of that.
Right.
So now it's just her, and then she has these children and like not a lot of help, But I did watch how she would bounce back, even when she transitioned in 2022, 3 years ago.
Okay.
The last thing that, I was able to see her like over the phone. I wasn't able to get to her in time, but she would telepathically talk to me, bro. Like when I was younger, my mom could just like telepathically tell me something. So like I was watching her right before she transitioned, probably a week before she transitioned. She couldn't talk. She was holding this white prayer cloth thing that she always had, that the sisters and the mothers of our church would wear over their head. And she always would hold it and just give this look like a warrior to me. And it always reminded me of the times when she was dealing with things and, how she would really strengthen her spirituality. So that's what taught me to access my spiritual practices and bring all of that back, as well as a lot of my ancestral practices.
Okay.
Which are extremely spiritual practices and, mind, body, soul connections and moving my body and things like that to center myself.
Okay. A lot of people struggle with adversity, right? But you call it your teacher. How did being seen as the underdog fuel you instead of limit you?
Well, like I said, I started out like everybody else. I was a victim for a while. I was always in the mindset of like, the world is doing this to me. I don't deserve this. I'm mad.
Right.
And I would react. I got to a point, you know, even through like training, martial arts, things like that, I got to a point where I realized that, wait a minute, I am the shaper of my reality.
Right.
Like, it's me.
Right.
And so what I started to do is look at those shadows of myself, and I started to face them. And I got excited to face them. And it got to a point where instead of like brawling with them and fighting them, I have this concept now saying, no, for my shadow work, I sit down and I have tea with me, with that part of me. I'm going to invite my shadow to dinner, and I'm going to sit down with myself and I'm going to face that, and we're going to have a conversation. And so once I got to a point where I could strengthen myself and realize what it truly meant to be an underdog, is really just because I believed in the lies and assumptions and the limitations of other people.
Oh, okay.
I believed in the things that they saw me at that time, but I realized that no one saw my vision.
Right.
No one knew the potential of what I had until I figured it out. Once I figured it out, when people started talking, I started laughing, I started smiling, because I realized what it was, that most people, their limitation, once, you know, when we're not able to face our shadows, the first thing we do is project our shadows on other people that are possibly facing their shadows. And so once I realized that, I realized like, oh, I see what's going on. There's a struggle battle within myself that's attracting these people as a way to sharpen, strengthen, and build and chisel me out to be the greatest example of me that I can be for my mission.
So it's like your spirit was calling that in to help mold you into who you ultimately was going to become.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's deep, man. Mm-hmm. That's deep. So now, I know you said your pivotal moment came around the age of like, 35, right? When you realize your voice is a gift, how did that realization change the way you lived and created?
I started studying my voice. I started to study great speakers and people that I felt that inspired me with their voice.
Okay.
And I also started to study sound vibration, the science of sound, our voices, the throat chakra, the sound that comes from the throat, the throat being a cymatic machine, like a machinery that creates a frequency in a space that can manipulate subatomic particles. Yeah. I started to find out that my talent, my gift of magnetism, my human design is projecting through speech. And it was the main thing I was afraid to do. So I found out that on the other side of my fear of speaking was my superpower and my gift that allowed me to break through a certain point in my life where instead of being afraid to maybe step into a different career, I faced it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to challenge myself to speak better, more powerful. I'm going to engage myself with people. I'm going to become a better listener. Like, it came with a whole lot of different things. But yeah, and it sort of like pointed me in a direction to expression, like a different form of expression.
Okay, that's deep, man. I like that. I like that for sure. A lot of people, you know, they stuck trying to figure that out about themselves, and then when they do get it, they kind of hesitant because they don't have that muscle per se built up, right, to where they have that resilience and they can push through the adversity of that so they can get to that side where they're in a sweet space, where they're starting to create and build upon that, right? Yes. So, loss is another theme in your story. Losing people, things, situations, and yet instead of being defeated by it, you saw God positioning you towards greatness, right? That's a radical perspective. what gave you the clarity to see loss as guidance rather than a punishment?
It took a while because, again, I was a victim to that. So for me, I thought that God don't like me, or
Right.
We
all go through that.
Like something we normally go through, and
like, why me? Why am I dealing with all of this hard shit?
Yes, man, and it really just it shifted like my perspective. Again, once I realized that, wait a minute, if like we were saying earlier, you read any scriptures,
right.
any of the religious texts, we go back. Most of our ancestors had this power beforehand, right? And all of this information is out now, that it's a possibility that if I'm in the image of God,
right,
I had to like really sit with myself and like, wait a minute, if I'm in the image of God, I'm like, well, parts of the aspects of God that's living through me is actually me.
Right.
And so then I started to like, if I change my perspective on life and thinking, if I was God, how would I animate myself if I was given this body? And now and I looked at my body, I'm like, my body can do anything. Like I'm young, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, but the fact that I'm able to let go of things and release things and keep my cup empty most of the time,
right.
allowing myself to be, fulfilled with information, that there's literally nothing that can stop me other than me. And so I realized that I was my own limitation. I was holding myself back, believing in the status quo, mediocrity, but deep down inside, I felt that I did know the truth. And the truth is, we're all in the image, of the Creator.
Right.
So we're almost given like an ability to co-create, with the new frequency of what God is doing, versus what it's been. I was like, hey, let's go beyond that, So yeah, that's why I kind of pivoted, my understanding.
Okay, I like that, man. Be a co-creator, because you got the Most High sitting on top. He's the ultimate creator, right?
Yes.
And then you got us, the creation, who've been given abilities. Let's exercise those abilities and really push it to the, our limits.
Yes.
So we're almost like a reflection of his embodiment, his greatness, through our own alchemy as we go through life, experience, and co-create. I like that. We're co-creators.
I like the alchemy. I like it.
Yeah, man. So let's talk practice and discipline. You said you spent over 20 years developing your craft, your hobbies, and even learning how to shapeshift the ego into balance and flow. What does that practice look like day to day for you, for the listeners out there, for those who are interested?
For me, practice is everything. Practice is permanence. I know we've heard practice perfection, but practice, actually, small increments of practice builds a permanent situation over time.
Okay,
that's for a fact.
Yeah.
Practice builds preparation. Practice builds the skills that we need to build larger things. So my thing has always been practice. Anything I was interested in, a hobby, a goal, a career, anything, I would take it and break it down to its smallest form and say, okay, what is the very next thing I can do to get closer to the goal?
Right.
And for me, it became habitual. So everything I did, I put it in a practice form. Like, how can I utilize this skill, this thing, this interest to over time build something that's sustainable that I can pass down to my offspring? Right. I knew that at a young age.
Legacy, man.
That I wanted kids and this whole thing.
Man.
And so from, my dad teaching me how to, on a blank sheet of paper, build something, like design something that will benefit something. And from there, I started to learn how to take the two-dimensional format and make it three-dimensional. And from there, I just started continuously building into more of a lifestyle where now, with that same concept, I take anything. You know, when I wanted to dance,
Right.
I couldn't dance at first. I could have allowed my mind to say, "Oh, you know, you're not a natural dancer. You haven't been doing this since you was 3." And
Right.
bro, I started at 19 dancing. Started technically pursuing dance at 19.
Yeah.
Had an interest at 17, but
Okay.
when I started, of course, the first thing I learned is that the moment you start something and you put your mind in something, the first thing that comes is opposition. I learned that early. I already knew that when I started to want to dance, I was going to attract a whole bunch of haters, a whole bunch of people that had an identity fixate on me. Like, oh, you're a basketball player.
Yeah,
How
that's
could
not
you
you.
dance?
Right.
That's not possible. Cool. Got it. It's not possible for you. And I just started continuously wiggling my way. I was like, well, I'm going to practice one thing at a time. And I had always had an ability to find help or find a mentor. Every time I wanted something, the first thing I would do is help myself first.
Right.
I would go get books. Man, I was like this when I was a kid. I would go get books, encyclopedias, just read, and inspire myself. And then I would go find someone that has actually done it. And then I want to know, hey, what was the hardest thing you had to deal with? How did you get through the adversity? I wanted to know that first. I always wanted to know, like, how did you get through a problem? And I would allow myself to be mentored, and I would do stuff in silence. So I never talked about the stuff that I was working on.
Right.
I just was building it in the shadows. I was building myself, you know? And I think that's the epitome of practice. Practice is something that, you know, I have a goal that even after 100, I'm still going to be practicing yoga. There's a goal. I pull myself back to now, I'm 37, and say, what do I need to do to get to a point where beyond the age of 100, I can still do handstands? You know, and so I start practicing that now.
Right.
So I train myself now. I create a practice, a long-term practice, just to keep doing it. And then there's never a reason why. It's never something that I'm looking to get from it, like a career goal. I'm looking to get a return from it. No, it's just the essence, that the fact that I am practicing, and then I find joy and happiness in the relationship with that thing that I'm doing.
Right.
And that's what I think money, career, and success, all that's the byproduct of that, bro. I think that's a byproduct. I think that's the result that comes after the love of the practice. Yeah.
Right. No, I feel that. So that ties into happiness too. You once believed happiness wasn't important, or that you weren't worthy of it. Now you say happiness is divine. How did you come to that shift?
It wasn't until I had my own spiritual awakening, abrupt awakening, between the ages of 30, 33. I had a Kundalini awakening. A lot of
Kundalini. Enlighten me on that.
Kundalini is the sleeping serpent that's in the spine. It's an energy that's connected to our 33 vertebrae.
Okay.
AKA the 33 degree. So the 33 degrees of energy is trapped inside of our spine.
Okay.
So once I found this out like in my 20s. I was practicing yoga, attempting to awaken this magical Kundalini power. But what I realized that is the spine itself is the vitality of life force. That's where we get a lot of our ideas from, our youth. Everything that we can replenish comes through the cycles of the spine, which is in Qigong they call it a microcosmic orbit. It's an energy frequency that just spirals. Once that stops, the body senses that it is not living. That's how people actually transition when they're not in their life path. So people can leave the planet early. It's not that they die; they just kind of leave that body because the body is not in synchronicity with its own it
ain't in motion.
With its own purpose. So the Kundalini awakening it hit me at 33, and some people have near-death experiences and stuff. I had more of a psychological type of experience where my left and right brain merged. I didn't see polarity no more. I didn't see white, black, or up, down. It was just like it completely came together. And I thought I was going crazy and thought I was dying. But I technically was. A part of me was, and it was the part of me that limited my potential of becoming what I was meant to become. So I had that Kundalini experience between 30, 33 years old. By 35, it just got to a point where I'm like, the path that I'm on, I have to like change something drastically, you know?
Right.
And then it put me into a place where I became aware of like my true essence of myself, you know? And that's what kind of put me on that path, you know, it wasn't like I went to a religious situation and got something.
Right.
It just literally happened like while I was just sitting on my couch, like listening to some music, and just something just happened. It just like popped. Like I was like, what was that? And I felt it. I actually felt it. The Kundalini, I felt it in my spine. It got really hot. That's what I remember. And then it was like something rushed up my back, and then it hit my skull. And then after that, I started having a whole bunch of visions, and it was like a psychedelic experience with nothing. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know if it was the music or something just happened, but yeah, that happened.
I felt something kind of similar listening to certain music where you get like the goosebumps and stuff like that. Maybe not as powerful as what you expressing, but I'm following you on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to pull the curtain back on your daily rhythm because it's powerful, right? You start your day at 4 a.m. Meditation, poetic affirmations, reading, training your mind, body, and spirit to align with God. Why is that discipline so vital to your success?
For me, I realized that my like natural body loves to be active before the sun rises.
Okay.
Naturally, my body just does that. And it worked for me, and it took a while to get to that point. And then I started doing a lot of research. I'm like, what is this? And I found out a lot of successful people, that's what they started to adopt as their principle, to start at a certain time of day. So I tapped into like my human design, my astrological energy. Like I just wanted to know a lot about me.
Right.
And I found out, you know, for me, like between like actually 3:30 a.m., 4 a.m., for me, waking up, I'm able to practice specific breath work arrangements for my body, movement, sound, all of these things, because I'm still slightly in the spirit realm. I'm still like half like here and not.
Half sleep a little bit.
Right. But my organs are in full attentive mode. Like my organs inside of my body is ready. Like, okay, my liver's like, okay, what we doing? Because normally 4 a.m. is the time where people have nightmares because the liver has not sort of processed the trauma. So I would wake up at 4 a.m. to purposely go into shadow work. Before the sun goes up, I'm sitting there with myself.
Right.
I'm meditating. I'm going directly to all my fears, and I'm writing them down. I'm facing them, and I'm doing whatever I need to do to work past that. As well as what it has created space for me to do is to wake up and train my body, train my spirit, my mind, align myself, research other business opportunities, write things down that may not be accessible when everybody else in the world is up. A lot of people are not up at 4 a.m.
Right.
And there's a lot of information that's just floating in the ether at 4 a.m. And I get a lot of my ideas just by waking up at 4 and meditating. I get a lot of $1 million ideas for me, things that I can produce that may not be ready for right now, but I'm like, oh man, these things will be ready 10 years from now. Let me put that here, put that in the archives, and then, I'm going to build up to that. But yeah, versus wait, I just got tired of like, waking up when everyone else wakes up and getting into this rush of life. And I didn't have that time for me, to do the self-work and the self-healing, the self-love care, coming from like the last question. I never felt that I deserved it.
Right.
And so what I did was I carved out that time for myself to say, okay, instead of disrupting my family and advocating, I need self-love. Screw all y'all. Like, I'm gonna go get me. Instead of being selfish, I became more self-aware. And so I was like, you know what? Instead of like pushing away my children, pushing away my partner to go get me, I'm gonna wake up before everybody wakes up.
Right.
And I'm gonna find me there.
Get
I'm
that time to
carve
yourself,
me out. Yes.
While everybody's still asleep.
And so when everybody wake up, man, I'm in a flow.
You ready? You already rocking and rolling.
And I already handle my business.
Right.
By 8 a.m., I'm done.
Now you're able to be a service to others because you already put that time with you. I like that. So finally, for those listening right now who are in their own struggle, who are fighting to push through their own personal adversity, what's your best advice to them?
Patience. Patience plus perseverance. Patience does not mean idling. It does not mean sit around and just wait. Patience is, for me, practice. Each step. And being very kind to the self, being generous to the self, being okay with making mistakes. The main thing is mistakes. Not being hard on ourselves because we make mistakes. Be okay with it. Fall in love with the version of the self that's imperfect.
Right.
And become its best friend. Become the best friend to yourself. Love the self when we actually make mistakes and be okay with that, That's the advice. It's the main advice. That we're really hard on ourselves and we attract other people that will be hard on us because we're hard on ourselves.
Right.
But in actuality, everything takes time. There's a process for everything. So there are no quick fix to anything. It's just process of take one step at a time, one day, and celebrate along the way. Like my biggest things like now is to embody celebration along the journey. Even when I take a loss, celebrate the loss. The fact that I gave effort,
right,
and I was courageous enough to even be there is why I'm celebrating. The loss, for me, is not a loss. If I learned something, I didn't lose anything. I gained something.
Right.
Now, the body don't know the difference. So I would let people know, your body don't know the difference between a win or a loss. If you're celebrating it, it's just going to look at it as a celebration. Even when you lose and you go take yourself out to dinner and go, hey, I made a loss, but at the end of the day, this is the positive thing I got out of it. Your body vibrates as if you won.
Right.
And so I say that's a practice to continuously look at life like this and don't focus on the small little intricate details and look at the larger picture, and do what you love. Like ultimately do what brings you joy. It doesn't matter if it makes a lot of money if you don't like it.
Yeah, that's true.
It ain't gonna last. Just like a relationship, it's just not gonna last. Are we invested into this? What brings you joy? Do that. And guess what happens? When you do what you love, there's always a way to make money. There's always to create a way to bring in an income with what you love, because money is the byproduct of your passion. Right. If you love it, man, the universe is gonna make you a millionaire. Look at people now. They can play video games and get paid millions. Back then, people like, you playing a game, that's a waste of time. Not now.
Right. A lot of opportunity and abundance now.
Time.
We in a great time.
Time changes things. Amazing minds change things, like inventors, people that were like us, people that could have been picked on, is the reason why people can get paid now to play games, because they were picked on for playing games, and they ended up doing what? Creating a way to make millions of dollars just to play games and other people to watch them. Like, I would never think we live in a world like that. So anything is possible with that type of mindset. So that's what I would say, is to practice mindset shifting, practice mindset building, because that's the greatest investment you got, is your mind.
Right.
And that's the main source of vitality. So that's the main thing I would say to anybody. Practice on your mind.
That's real talk.
Your mind going to control everything else. It's going to control your body, how you speak, how you feel. The mind is like a machine. It's a computer, and it's easily programmed. If we sit back and just let things happen, we are being programmed, period.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
if
Totally
we
agree with
are
that.
taking
initiative,
we're creating
forward.
a practice, or we're doing something that's have a
We take
consistent.
control of that a little bit more, right?
We're not only programming ourselves of the success that we want, we're reprogramming or deprogramming
Right.
the programming that
That
we've
we,
had.
that
That's
we
probably,
don't want. That's not
exactly.
serving us or helping
It's
us.
knocked us off track. So that's what I would say. Invest into the mind, investing into the perceptions of the mind.
Right. Man, that was incredible, Johnny, man. I want to thank you for sharing your story with us, your practices, and your wisdom with us today.
Thank you, brother, for having me.
Family, if you didn't catch every gem he dropped, rewind this episode and take notes. This is how you build generational wealth, not just in money, but in spirit, purpose, and legacy. Make sure y'all follow Johnny, a.k.a. Oba Bola Tundé, on his journey and tap into the gifts he's sharing with this world. This has been the Push Podcast. Until next time, remember, adversity doesn't define you. It refines you. Keep pushing. And as always, I'm Lost Judah. Out.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Push Podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights to help you on your journey. If you enjoyed the conversation, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media for more updates. Remember, every step forward counts, so keep pushing forward. See you next time.